Well, it's Friday, December 7th, and it is a great day. It's sunny outside. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful day for a time in December in Western Pennsylvania. Going to be 57 today, 60 tomorrow. Well, then it's going to go the other way next Sunday and Monday. But that's wintertime. That's what happens to the weather. I'm Tom Young, and I'm here for Anchor.fm.com podcast called Money Shifts, and for my friends on Facebook at the Family Money Farm Group. I'm here to challenge you, change your future, help you find the road that you are looking for. Not somebody else's road, not my road, but the direction and the goals that you have. Let's figure out how to make them happen. Today's called The Rules of Prosperity. So we're going to talk about the rules that we need to follow, the discipline that we need to apply and accept in order to think long-term. As R. Nelson Nash taught me, everything is, you got to think long-term, not short-term. Life is a marathon. It is not a sprint. We start every presentation with prayers for everybody around the world that has been touched by this COVID virus coming out of the Wuhan lab in China that's operated by the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. To what good or bad there comes from that, I'm not here to judge or whatever. You can believe what you want and take it where you want to go. We offer our prayers for everybody that's had their health impaired. We offer our prayers for those who have lost loved ones, and especially the loved ones who have been lost, that the Lord would open his arms and gather them to his kingdom of heaven above. We also pray for those in Ukraine and this war from Russia to Ukraine and what's going on there. Maybe someday we'll figure out why. I don't know. I'm a why person. I always like to know why. We may or may not ever find that out, but we hope and pray that these men would find the road to peace and stop the destruction and the killing in Ukraine. We add our prayers for Israel, God's people, for what is going on in Israel. It seems like the world is against them, the protests and everything that has gone on. I just think there's a lot of people that are misinformed based on what I've seen and what I've heard. So we offer our prayers. In Jesus' name we pray. In looking at this and thinking of what is our quote for today, always got to think of a quote. And I know what our subject is today. And our quoter is Vince Lombardi. Confidence is contagious. So is the lack of confidence. Unbelievable, because that sort of leads me to what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about you and I and how we think. I talk about the principles of prosperity, and the first 7 are really think, see, measure, flow, control, multiply, move, and multiply. And I've talked about these, and the hardest one of all is how to think correctly, because we are bombarded every day by the advertising and marketing of all the companies that make money by controlling our money. Remember, they have 4 rules. I want all your money, more ongoing, keep forever, give back as little as possible. That's their rules. That maximizes their financial potential. You and I need to learn how to do that for ourselves. That's why the book, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project, was created. After 48 years of doing what I do, I have learned both sides, the good, the bad. I've made lots of mistakes. Was on the edge of bankruptcy like 38, 40 years ago. And I had to climb my way out of that, pay everybody back because of some of the dumb decisions I had made at that time. But the lessons that I have learned, the education I received for climbing out of where I was, has been an unbelievable education. I have a dozen or more people that are MBAs, work in the financial world, and they're clients, and they're number one question that all of them ask is, why didn't they show me this in college? I have a master's degree, but yet nobody showed me any of this stuff or how to think. See, the unfortunate thing is our educational program in America today doesn't really teach people how to think. It's about indoctrination and rote thinking and memorization, but it isn't really about how to think and solve problems. We see that happening in our politicians around the world, where they're just, your way, my way. Nobody wants to put their heads together and actually come up with an agreeable solution. And that leads me to believe that politicians in general have their own agenda. And it's not you and I, the constituents. It's their own personal well-being long-term so that they can have financial security and go forward. So there's so many of these people that have been politicians for their whole lifetime, and they have become multi-millionaires in the process. And I don't know how they do that in the income they make. So there must be some other perks or benefits that you and I don't know about. Maybe it's the insider trading, and on and on. There's a whole list of things I could get into, but I don't want to go there. I want to talk about yours and my discipline. There is a new way of managing money that I have become involved in. The concept and the program is called Currence, C-U-R-R-E-N-C-E. And what it is management of cash flows. Now, we understand management of assets. If you've got investments, I have active managers. They manage the money. They put you in the market when you should be in. They take you out and when you need to be out. And avoiding the big loss and avoid riding the market to the bottom. And at the same time, when things are going well, they hang in there to capture as much as the upside as they can. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, it's been very, very erratic since COVID and what has transpired. But I hope and believe that the seas will eventually calm down and some rational thinking and rational decisions will come to be in the future. But in doing that, we need to think of the rules. And the rules that you and I are fed every day through advertising and marketing, whether it's about the drugs that you should ask your doctor for. Don't rely on the doctor to know which drug to give you. That's why the drug companies spend millions of dollars, billions of dollars advertising their drugs so that you, the consumer, can go to the doctor and say, hey, doctor, what about this drug? Well, this helped me. And so it circumvents the doctor in some ways. So I don't know where that comes from, but the same thing applies to the financial world. The marketing and advertising that I see on television, this guy Fisher Investments, and I pick on that one, and he says, I would never buy an annuity. Well, he's an idiot because he does not define the information that he's giving you. There are many different kinds of annuities out there. There are fixed annuities that pay interest and have no fees and no downside risk. There are variable annuities that have risk and fees that are tied to the stock market. And I believe those are the ones that this Fisher guy is talking about, not the kind that I typically do, because I don't believe in putting a tax shelter inside a tax shelter. An annuity is a form of tax shelter that allows you to grow money tax deferred and avoid the tax till you take the money out. An IRA tax law is a tax shelter. And why would you put a tax shelter inside another tax shelter? I don't know. That makes no sense to me or rationale. But when we think of the rules, I want all your money, more ongoing, keep forever, give back as little as possible. We have to think of the kind of products that they promote, that the financial world promotes. But yet they mislead you because they do almost the exact opposite of what they tell you. They're telling you to park your money with them, leave it there forever, give them more ongoing, and when you need it, they'll give you it back in dribs and drabs. So they never really give you all your money back. It's there, it's on a piece of paper. And most of that is done through 401ks, IRAs, 403bs, 457 plans, which are government type partnerships with the government to defer the tax. And in all those programs, you have little or no access to that money to bail you out of having to make a loan at the bank at a high interest rate. So now you're stuck. You've put all your money in this position thinking that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire, because that is the only purpose that anybody should do that. Do you really believe you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in the future with $35 trillion of government debt and $211 trillion of unfunded liability? Do you really think the taxes are going to be lower? Are your taxes lower today than they were 20 years ago? When you were raising a family, your taxes were probably the lowest that they have ever been. And now that the kids are raised and out of the house, you're probably making great income and paying more in tax now than you did in the past. So why would you want to defer paying taxes until some future date where you're most likely going to pay a higher tax? Well, that's real smart, isn't it? But what do I do with the money? In other words, if I don't put it in my 401k, that brings me to this word called discipline. Because if I don't put it in the 401k, I'm going to take the money, I'm going to pay tax on it, and then I'm going to devise a program, a plan, a long range, thinking long term, as Nelson said. I'm going to devise some kind of long-term plan. Now, if I dig deep into the financial world, that specifically look at banks, they have money called Tier 1 money. Now, what is that? You put $1 in the bank, they're going to loan it out 7 times to 10 times to somebody else in the form of a loan. So that's fractional banking. So every dollar has to have a reserve. And on average, that reserve is 5%. And that 5% reserve is the core reserve of the bank, referred to as Tier 1 money. Tier 1 money in the bank cannot be invested, cannot be loaned out to anybody. It must be kept absolutely safe. Get the idea? An unbelievable amount of money. I would say an average of somewhere between 20 and 30% of all that Tier 1 money. Do you know where the banks put it, folks? They put it into cash value life insurance. That's what I said, cash value life insurance with mutual dividend paying companies, because even the Federal Reserve tells their member banks this is a position of the lowest risk of default of any kind. So get that. Now, wait a minute, Tom. You mean to tell me that life insurance stuff that I'm hearing all these ads telling me that, oh, you would never buy permanent whole life insurance, that the banks are actually buying it to store their most important, precious money in? That's what I said. Corporations do the same thing. If you don't believe me, you can go on the internet and search BOLI, bank-owned life insurance, or COLI, corporate-owned life insurance. It's amazing how the elites and the rich people do things very, very different than what you and I are promoted to do. Now, wait a minute. Does that really make sense? Why wouldn't I do the same thing that banks and corporations would do to protect their money, to create more wealth, to have access to their money, to have lower taxes, avoiding the federal government, avoiding the IRS? Wouldn't you really want that? We're going to get into that in more detail next week. Going to close it off for there. It's Friday. I'm Tom Young, and we're here to help you navigate the future stream so that you end up with some real financial security in the future, and to be able to enjoy retirement someday the way you're dreaming of enjoying it. Get my book, The Family Money Farm. There it is coming across. Go to cfo-project.com. Right there it is over my head. Put your name and email address in, and you'll get an email with a link in it to download both books, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project, and the bonus book called The Financial Mastery Coaching, the Blueprint. God bless you all. And if I don't hear from you or see you, or you're not on here again, have a blessed, merry, joyous Christmas and celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. There you are.